Within the last handful of years, we've seen more and more new film stocks popping up. However, if you know anything about the film industry at all, you know that surprise, surprise, these aren't actually new film stocks, but they're actually respooled cinema film. By purchasing the cinema film in bulk, these companies can easily respool it themselves and sell it locally, making a slight profit, but giving film to that area of the world for cheaper and more accessible than most of Kodak's film lineup. In a world where Kodak and Fuji seemingly don't have much of an interest in bringing new emulsions themselves, it's good to at least see Kodak except that by allowing smaller labs to purchase and re-roll their cinema film, it's allowing people to shoot film in smaller, less accessible countries. I know in many countries, legitimate Kodak film or portrait can be 3 to 4 times the price it is in America, which many of us would say is already expensive. Well, Kodak may have just put an end to that entirely forever. As of this year, they will stop selling bulk motion picture film, supposedly unless you're creating a movie or work in the filmmaking industry and can prove that said film will be used for motion pictures. Okay, so before I dive into what this means for Kodak, film photography, and ultimately us individually, let's look at Kodak's history so we can understand some historical precedent. Since 1989 and Thomas Edison's development of the first motion picture camera, Kodak has been selling commercial transparent film for, well, motion pictures. Kodak also sells their film photography film, which is entirely different from their motion picture film, which doesn't have as much to do with the chemicals or development of the film, but rather that these two Kodaks are technically different companies. To keep things incredibly simple, Eastman Kodak creates the film and has the ability to distribute cinema film, whereas Kodak Alaris mainly owns the distribution rights to the still photography film, as well as a bunch of printing and technological ventures that they do as well. Now, I know from the outside looking in, this seems a little foolish why it's laid out like this, but if you look at the history and why it was necessary at the time, I think it makes a little more sense. In the middle of the digital camera revolution, again, surprise, surprise, Kodak was amidst one of its several bankruptcies, and Eastman's rights were sold to Kodak Alaris to cover their ass for nearly $3 billion, which is better than outsourcing it to some international company, which could potentially change a bunch of things. So long story short, probably in Kodak's best interest. So Eastman Kodak only creates their film, Vision 3, in various light sensitivities and XX black and white film, but it's only available in bulk 50 to 400 foot rolls. However, there is one place to get this beloved tungsten bound stock. It's none other than, well, CineStill, who faced some recent decent community backlash for trademarking 800T and 800 tungsten, and some claiming that they bullied out a lot of smaller brands from their film. Now, many folks are arguing that CineStill is offering a superior product by removing the remjet and having a superior quality control, which I don't necessarily doubt, but to me, it's kind of beside the point. CineStill, interestingly enough, while not explicitly saying it, resells the exact cinema film products as the Kodak cinema film line and pretty much states it in the names. Well, in 2023, CineStill had quite a little interaction, and like I said, lawsuit with Cat Labs, and while nothing from either brand seems to have come from it, Kodak and CineStill are seemingly stomping out any of these brands and their respooled cinema film, leaning into the exclusive under-the-table deal that they have with one another. Reflex Lab recently confirmed this to be true and that they would have to be buying from a third party, which obviously was going to mean it's going to be more expensive. So as of now, the only way to acquire these films is to be CineStill or have the credentials of a filmmaker and show that you're actually creating a film. As from someone inquiring with Kodak, a rep responded, "Thank you for your interest in 35mm Ektachrome Reversal 100D. Please know that this film is manufactured only for use in motion picture productions. If your project is a motion picture production, please fill out the attached production form and we will notify you by email regarding availability." All this to me is a big bummer because, like I said before, in many places, getting CineStill or Kodak film costs an arm and a leg, so having a local lab like Reflex Lab or Mr. Negative be able to provide the same film with some unique and cool packaging for a fraction of the cost just meant that more people could shoot film around the world. And with this additional cost, we will slowly be seeing this secondary market for film dry up worldwide. In my opinion, and probably the opposite thought process of what Kodak is thinking, instead of people buying more Kodak film, I think people will altogether stop shooting film or shoot significantly less. The greatest irony is if you look back at the history of 35mm film, with Barnack spooling 35mm cine film into a still film canister to shoot in a photography camera, and ultimately this could be how it ends. Now, will people be able to lie and get past this form that Kodak is requiring? Perhaps, but only time will tell. I know people will definitely be trying, so I would imagine Kodak would attempt to be pretty tight with that, but how Kodak will tell the truth from a small indie production will be interesting. On the flip side, I think it is important to at least somewhat understand this from Kodak's perspective. In many cases, the respoolers are making money off of Kodak without adding any value to the stream of business, and Kodak at the end of the day is a business and has to protect their revenue streams and their assets. But as a consumer, my question is, to what extent would they go about hurting the film industry as a whole to protect their ass, which in my mind would directly hurt them? So I feel like there's a fine line to play with it, which I get is probably difficult, because I do think there are a lot of people asking themselves, why is Kodak doing this in the first place? Because from the outside looking in, it feels like Kodak is a toxic girlfriend that is doing anything she can to get you to hate her and break up with her. Don't ask me how I know. Well, Kodak Alaris, as you may know, this past year was sold to new owners, and it's my best guess that they're cracking down on what I would assume is Eastman violating the contract by not being thorough enough when selling these bulk rollers to respoolers. I think Kodak assumes that if these respoolers go away, that people will be buying more Kodak, which I don't necessarily think is the case. Maybe a slight increase because that's what people have to do to shoot the film, but like I said, is that worth the potential damage we're seeing overall to the community? I don't know. Or, which is my preferred and hopeful outcome, is that Kodak realizes they're leaving a lot of money on the table by not cutting down and respooling this cinema film themselves, and that this upcoming year we could be seeing a line of new cinema film directly from Kodak. Now, this would be great news if they can keep the price down on it. If they're going to raise the price a ton and make it as expensive as their professional film, then this isn't necessarily good news. But if they can make it competitive too, like we've been seeing with a lot of these respoolers, I think this could be great news for us as we be getting some quality film for cheaper than a lot of the professional line. Which, in my opinion, with the new Lucky color film supposed to come out in Q2, it sounds like it may be needed to rival how cheap Lucky is aiming to have their product. But ultimately, I want to know what you guys think in the comments as well. I understand Kodak is looking out for their business and what's best for them, but I do think it could be at a cost for the film industry as a whole, which again directly impacts their business. I think there are ways for Kodak to continue to promote development of film while not hurting their business or business model or film assets or stream of revenue or any of that stuff. Kodak, if you want some ideas, just hit my line. My email is down in my business description below. Otherwise, yeah, I think that's going to do it for this one, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Until the next one, stay safe, stay shooting. Adios.